Tonight's guest is wellness champion Latoya Adams. This is Christian Duke, and you're watching Strength Addicts here on Instagram Live, brought to you courtesy of TitanMedicalCenter.com. At Titan, you have it all. The new therapies like ECA Plus Stack, Aries Therapy, also hair, skin, and nails, TRT, and so much more. So guys, as you know, the wellness division is exploding in the fitness industry, and it's very important to me to get these great athletes on here. So I'm super excited. We've got Judge Love, fresh back from the Junior USAs. We got John Benavides in the house, Hamburg in the house. Hamburg, who is very happy that Sweden is on the verge, this close of joining NATO, which is great news. In fact, hey, if I lived in Sweden, I wouldn't want to have to worry about Russia invading my country. So I think that's great news. Finland is also going to be joining NATO. That's really cool. Got Brooke Martyr in the house, Omni Muscle, J Rib. What's up? How are you? So let's bring her on. Latoya is in the house here. There she is. She requested it. I love the interview. That's the best way to start the day. What's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being so patient. I was like, just, yeah.
No problem. I was like, what? Because I'm on Central Time, so I was like, did I have the time right?
Right. No, but yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, first of all, the pictures you sent me, I loved. The one I picked, I mean, that's the winner to me, because you've got like medals and trophies everywhere. It's like so much bling, and it's all well deserved.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Most of those are from I run marathons as well, so it's a combination of 5Ks, 10Ks, halves, a triathlon is somewhere in there, and quite a lot of marathons. So that's a lot of the lanyards.
Yeah, I'm looking down because I'm like liking stuff and waving at people, because usually, like back in the day, I didn't do any of this stuff, and it's super important because people like want to be recognized. But it's interesting that you do marathons, right? Because like a lot of people, like they look at running, they look at cardio, and they're like, oh, that's going to get your legs small. And what a bad assumption that would be, because here you are, a wellness champion that also.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I always tell people, do as I say, don't do as I do, because I've been running for so long. I did track and field in high school, and I did gymnastics, cheerleading, all of that background. So I don't train for the marathons. I just go out and run because of that fact. I can't bodybuild and train for a marathon at the same time. So I get my kind of endurance training from calisthenics. And then I do the longevity running maybe a week or so before, and then the day of, and then that's it.
And
But
that's
it's not that's nothing.
so fancy, yeah.
But it works for me, though. I definitely say if anyone wants to be a runner, then to definitely just commit to that. But because it will have the complete opposite effect on bodybuilding, that's for sure.
So there is some truth in that then. So that's interesting. But so you have different parts of the year for like the different sports, which is really cool. How did you come to discover bodybuilding though? Because I mean, like the two worlds, I don't think there's much like overlap between the two, right?
No, not too much at all. I was a size 16 at my largest, and I was very unhealthy. Instead of like college 10, I gained like college 50, and I'm only 5 foot tall, so they look like double on me. So I started to get more into health and fitness, and tried to just change my whole lifestyle, and it just kept toppling. I wanted to top myself, so I went to losing weight, and then I liked the way I looked, and I said, well, maybe I can do a 5K, a 10K. That's where all the running started. And then after that, I said, well, what can I do next? So I did Ninja Warrior, which was really a cool experience. And I said, well, what's after that? So I did a triathlon, and then I came into bodybuilding. And I don't know what I'm going to do after this. Fly to the moon, something. But I really just like topping myself, and it keeps me motivated to kind of stay fit and also be exposed to these different worlds. So it's kind of how it started.
But I think, I think setting goals is great. Like I had Carissa Michelle on last week, and, she started at over 400 pounds, lost 200. Now she's losing 50 more, and then she's going to do personal training. Then she wants to compete. I think setting goals is really important, not only because it's good to have that sense of accomplishment and work towards something, but you want to stay like I don't know if entertain is the right word. You want to stay engaged. It's so easy. Like once you hit the goal, if that's it, I mean, there's a chance that you're actually going to regress to where you started from, you know. But if you just keep,
Exactly.
you know, whatever it is, you know, it kind of keeps your head in the game, and that's super important, I think.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It keeps you're your own cheerleader at that point. So you've seen where you can do, and all you can do is go up from there. And especially in bodybuilding, you continuously see your body change. There's not a show where I look back and say I can't get better, and be proud to where I've progressed to and I can continue. That that is probably a thing that's kept me in bodybuilding for this long because I like to always kind of switch around just because you're never at your best. You're at your best for that day, but you have so much more you can do, and time over everything is what you need, and that just being patient with yourself and your body is just very, very interesting with the discipline. Of course, it goes along with it as well.
And there's so much in that too. Like, you know, and the two words that just jumped out to me, you know, were patience and discipline. And those are two things that, you know, in a lot of other sports, you don't really have to deal with that much. You know, it's like, you know, this is the only sport where, you know, it's 12, 16 weeks, sometimes more, as you said, look good for a couple of minutes. You know what I mean? It's pretty thing. A lot of people just couldn't. But I know that football players, basketball players, I don't think like they're used to playing, you know, 80 games or, you know, a dozen games or whatever in a season. Some can
Hmm.
one show in the whole year.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very true. I think the shortest prep is usually that 3 month is kind of the sweet spot, but many do it, a lot longer. But like, well, my coach always says this, but it's not really, you don't go on prep. You're in the lifestyle year round because, of course, your main gains and all of your health, kind of keeping your health aligned with being able to strip it down to the less body fat as possible, and then put kind of going to your bulking season, then back and forth can have a toll on your body. And if you're not maintaining your health throughout the entire year, then it doesn't really matter, or your body's not going to respond because there's certain things that the food that's coming in and out and your intake and whatever you may be doing, your body just won't respond if you're not doing all of those things in quote unquote off season, during that time. So I I just try to maintenance throughout, as much as I possibly can. And coming from being, this is my 14th year being a vegetarian. I became pescatarian. Thank you. I switched into being pescatarian when I went into bodybuilding, just because you can only get so much of the element of protein, from just strengths and things. But I usually swing out fish in my off season. But we're kind of switching that up as well. So just a healthy lifestyle is just what it's all about. That's the bonus.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been lacto vegetarian since I was like 14 and a half. Obviously, I don't compete. I'm immediate, but I'm 43. So I've been doing it for,
Oh,
and I think it's awesome that you're doing that. Now, who is your coach out of curiosity?
my coach is Renee Hershey. She's with the pros, the pro physiques, that the pros team, the team's the pros, but their gym is pro physiques. So they kind of go hand in hand, but they're based out of Arizona.
And what a great coach too, because again, like I think there's so much truth in the lifestyle approach as opposed to the prep approach. I don't
Oh,
hear that, you know, and it's not just a spin on words. It's actually like a very, very important take home message because as you pointed out, like the going back and forth between prep and I guess regular life and regular life is, you know, if we're talking like mainstream regular life, it's like the antithesis of prep. So your body's just like the stresses of going back and forth, you know, can easily throw a monkey wrench to everything. So the lifestyle is great because yeah,
yeah.
you're not going to be in peak week or prep mode, but you're still like in the zip code at least, you know, so that when you get in the prep, you're not like putting your body through the ringer, you know?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Your body, it takes a toll on your body from just being stripped down. So you're getting stripped down from water, stripped down from body fat, stripped down from all the rigors that you put on your body to and then maintain it and go and smile on stage and act like everything's great. You're barely there, but you have to make sure that you bring it all, and that really comes from that maintenance of everything you do before a show, during the year, and directly after a show. I just finished a show a few weeks ago, and you can't just go back like, everyone always asks, well, what's your cheat and what are you going to do now? And all of that. And it's like maintain my body from for this into the next show. That's the only thing that I've been taught to do. And if you want longevity in this, I don't know to call it a sport or a hobby, but in this field, then you have to have that maintenance aspect in there.
Definitely. And that's a whole other debate, the sport or hobby that, message boards and people just go back and forth, and whatever it is, it brings you great happiness, but it requires a heck of a lot of work and a lot of commitment and sacrifice. And it's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. As soon as you're done with a show, people want to
Yeah.
know, when are you doing the next one? What are you going
Yes.
to, you haven't even had like your preparation meal. They already want to know.
I was like, I still have my tan on. Like,
Right.
can I have my tan on?
No. And the ones you have to be really careful for, and God bless them. I love promoters, but promoters especially, if they see something they like, if you pose good and you have a good personality and you got along with, they want you at their show. They want you at their show because they make their show better. You can't blame them, but you got to be able to say no, or I'll get back to you.
Yep. Oh yes, absolutely. Because you can get caught up in it. It's very easy to because they're fun. Like we don't do this to do. They are very time consuming. It is a lot of discipline, and we can't forget the price tag behind them. This is not a cheap route to go. That's for sure. And even if you try to cut corners here and there, you still circle up spending a nice amount of money. But we choose to do this. It's an option, and the reason that we're selecting to do it is because we enjoy it. The moment you're no longer enjoying it, then you do have to question why you're doing it. And I think, at least for me, if I am doing a little bit too much and it becomes more of a burden or it feels like a job or whatever, then I won't enjoy it, and that's when I'll have to step down. So saying yes to everything is not realistic for me, just in life and in this. But the things I do get to say yes to, I have so much fun doing them, and I think that's the whole point.
Absolutely. And what's crazy too is you had mentioned, you know, uh, that you could cut corners maybe, but honestly, even there, that's a big one there too, because a lot of times when you cut corners, you can actually uh, hurt yourself, and then it's actually more costly because you got to fix, like for example, like the hand-me-down suits. A lot of people will save money with that, but like that hand-me-down suit was handmade for a competitor that is not you. And so
Yeah.
now you might have saved a couple $100, but you've got a suit that's either too big or doesn't really, accentuate your curves, or so then you got hair and makeup. Do you really want to cut corners on that? It's
Yes.
not a cheap sport. It's not a cheap sport, and cutting corners actually could be detrimental.
It can. It definitely can. I was actually, especially like well, like the suits, for instance. That is definitely and it's an option. I don't say it, if anyone wants to do it. But it is true. It's I was just having this conversation the other day because I have quite a few suits. But I offer, of course, but I do push as well the fact that they are tailored for your body. So your weight, your curves, your height, your torso to leg, all of that. And my glutes may be bigger or larger than your glutes, and yours, and it just doesn't fit quite right. But you do save. So it's just something
Yeah,
to consider, And some people are doing it as like a bucket list item. So maybe they just really want to get on stage and they don't really care. But if you're really wanting the judges to see you in a certain manner, you're going to be around, you want your presentation at all times to be what at least you're proud of, whether you win or not. If you are there and you're proud of what you presented, your body, your suit, your look, that you already won, in my opinion.
absolutely. And you can get a hand-me-down if you can find a suit designer that will do alterations, because many of them will do
Yeah.
that. And it's a great way for the suit designers out there that may watch this. It's a great way to get new business. Do the alteration, even if it's not your suit, because it's good customer service. And they may come to you to get like their own original suit. So, but that's a whole other business 101, that some suit designers, fail to realize. But yeah, even with that, if you, it's all, get the alterations, a hand-me-down can be very beneficial. Um,
I
so
mean,
kind of like going back to when you first started training, like, did your body just respond really well to the weights, or was it just sort of like the endorphins? I'm just curious because you didn't just go in the gym to work out. Like here you are competing in front of judges and photographers, and I mean, weight training is a niche sport, but competing is like a super niche within that niche, you know? So like, I guess like, how did you go from training to competing?
Um, well, initially, I mean, I have the athletic background kind of helped with the foundation of my muscle bellies.
Mm,
So when I was overweight, then I never, of course, I didn't see much of that. But when I started seeing it, I said, "Huh, I may be onto something." But and it just remained. So as I started to slowly chisel down into more of the competitor type of workouts, it started to respond fairly quickly in different areas a little bit more than others. Everyone has like their different body parts and areas. Like I chisel really quickly up top. I don't work my arms or abs, and they chisel down really quickly. But of course, as a female, like our lower body definitely can retain a little bit more, and that's being the largest muscle group was my little area.
mm,
So that one was a little bit slower, but slowly it started to respond. And it's funny about this because I always would say every trainer I went with said I want the teardrop in my quads. That was my reference point. I just want to see the teardrop, and my legs just would not cut up, which is why I initially started in a figure. And well, it was before wellness as well. But then finally, I started on more conditioning, and that's when everything started cooperating, and my entire body started responding a lot more. So just finding that I could weight train and condition train at the same time was my kind of light bulb that I can actually see definition and just to push harder and why not show it off in a show. So that was my kind of push. But it was a time where I was like, I would never bodybuild. Like I don't want to look like a man and the whole generic stereotypes that goes along with it. And now I can't wait to step back on stage.
that's so, so cool. So talk to us a little bit about your support network, like a significant other or parents, siblings, coworkers, you know, people at the gym. Like when you decided that you were going to compete and throughout your journey as a competitor, what's that interaction been like with those folks?
Well, no significant other. I'm single. But for my family, it was kind of a surprise at first. They're not surprised much with me because like I said, I'm always jumping into different activities, and it's one of those I see it and I'm like, I can do it and I'm gonna prove it. Like it always been like that since I was young, moving forward. So when I told them about it, I told my sister only, and she was very excited about it, and my mom didn't know. So my first show happened to be on her birthday weekend. So I brought her down, and I had made this like little fake invitation ticket, and gave it to her when she got here and said, "You want to see me go to my first show?" And that was kind of like her. We did it all together, and it was like her first little exposure to the world, and she's been a cheerleader ever since. So my family's very supportive. They come to my sister and my best friend just came to one of my national shows last year. It just makes it fun that they are excited. It makes me push harder because I want, if they're going to spend their money, because it's still expensive to travel and things, and support me, I want it to give my best. And then work and friends, they're all just as supportive. I worked directly with our chief legal officer, and he was texting me while I was in Louisville doing my show a few weeks ago, like, how's it going? How'd you place? Like, it's very, very nice to have everyone kind of intrigued by it, because in my head it's just me, but apparently it's pretty interesting to others as well. So that is very, very fun. It's kind of like putting on a show that you work your butt off to do.
Where are you from? So I know you're essential, but I'm just curious.
I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Went to University of Louisville, which is one of these for undergrad, and then after I got my bachelor's, I went to Florida State for law school. So I moved. I'm in Texas. I live in Houston, but I moved from Florida after law school over to Texas. I've been here ever since.
Very cool. Very cool. I went to University of Florida and I live in Louisville, but I love the
Oh,
Seminole. And that's like the one um, I guess it's not a mascot, but the one affiliation that will never end. You know, like with the Redskins that ended, and then with the Reds, I think that's going to end. But now with the Seminole tribe and FSU have an amazing relationship,
yep.
amazing, and it's such school in Tallahassee, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing. And you went to U of L. That's so cool. But so yeah, so I was just curious because I saw the uh, the horse in the background there, and that's a Kentucky Strut. I cannot believe I just said the horse because it's a certain horse, but I'm not
Oh,
equestrian.
the Peg. Yeah, yeah. The Pegasus.
The Pegasus. Yeah, I should be shot living in Louisville and to say the horse, but but yeah, that's so cool. And
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
it's funny that we switched. That you
Yeah,
were in Louisville. That's really funny.
yeah. Um, but and when I first asked you about your camp, I smiled like almost like a deer in headlights because I was expecting you to say boyfriend or husband or whatever. But the thing is, when you said you were single, I was, oh my god. Because the thing is, guys, please don't start like hitting
Oh,
on. Yeah, do that. Um, that's the only thing. Like I was like smiling, like, oh, I wish I hadn't asked that. But yeah, because uh, they say they won't, but they will do it. But hopefully they don't. Um, people I
oh,
know online. But it's funny though. Uh, and then the other thing that you had mentioned too about that question that I really liked was the fact that your coworkers were intrigued, and that's a great response. Because as long as they're not like like you had said earlier, like some of the preconceived notions, like you're turned into a man, which is nonsense. But there's a lot of people, unfortunately, and some of them are educated people, which is really depressing, but that believe that stuff. But intrigued is a
yeah.
great response because it allows for them to learn more about it. And in learning more about it, they'll see the sacrifices that you make, but then they also see the quality of work that you produce. And so that's another misnomer that, oh, people that compete are lunkheads, they're meatheads or whatever. But they see, oh no, Latoya works her butt off and she really takes pride in her work. This is a hobby that she really enjoys. But look at her. She's like eating clean. She's not going out. She's regimented. This is interesting. And then from there, who knows? They might compete, or you might inspire them to go lift. You may not know about it. They might keep it to themselves, but you're inspiring people by doing what you love, and that's great.
That it's funny you said that. Actually, our assistant has decided that he's going to compete. He was thinking about it, and he just recently told me that he's going to compete, which I'm very excited for him.
Right.
But yeah, it makes it. I won't lie. At first, they're like, "Oh, can we see pictures?" I'm like, bikini thong. I don't know.
Right.
I'd be on a meeting with you, and then but I'm like, you know what, these are in the public. I can't hide NPC. If they're in the field, they already know where to go look. So I had to get over that initially when I first started competing as an attorney. I was a professor. I was like, my students can literally see me, and I try my best not to put on Instagram certain looks and certain things, and it's a very gray thin line that I try, you skirt close to because you're a competitor, you're out there, you're half naked, but not in that sexy, you know what I mean,
Right.
type way. No offense to anyone who does. I just personally didn't. But I had to get over that, or don't. I had to get over that fact that you will see pretty much everything. We have what 3 or 4 pieces of material covering essential areas, and that's pretty much it.
That's
So I had to get over that, but all in all, it's been very, very positive from my job now and previous employers as well, since I've been doing it for a few years.
definitely. And a few things I'm going to say. I'm not making fun of you, but when you said lie, I won't lie. I don't know if that's Northern Florida, Louisville, or Texas, but it's very Southern. So all these
It's
out.
probably doable because I was in a hotel about a year ago, and I called down. I said, "Do you all have an iron?" There was like a what? I said an iron. I was so mad by the end of the conversation. I was like, you iron your clothes. It was like an iron. I was like, ma'am, do you? But it's bad.
What's the where you describe stuff? That's like what you're doing. It's crazy. Yeah, but it's there. I can hear it's great, and I love it. I love it. And Kentucky's got different accents, like in Paducah and Pikeville and Louisville. Every like little region's got its own thing. But I think
Yes.
that's cool. And getting back to about posting certain shots and what some people might see or think they see because again you're wearing so little clothing. It's really not about sex appeal. It's not about sexuality. In fact, I don't know if it happens in wellness, but with some, let's say, more novice bikini competitors, because I was involved in a lot of posing seminars and such, and done so many interviews. Some bikini competitors don't really, maybe they don't understand so much, so they do try for the sex appeal. And I will tell you, firsthand experience, the judges don't like that at all. And if anything, they're going to score you down for that. So it is not at all about that. And the more people that get that, the better, because the sport's going to grow. But yeah, some competitors, like they'll do like a certain like shoulder thing, or they'll do their hair in a certain. They're doing it because they're trying to get the judge's attention, and they're getting it, but they're getting scored down for it.
It's so very true, especially going from figure to wellness, which is at the beginning of wellness. It was semi bikini because they were still trying to figure out what they were doing, and they still are, but it's becoming more its own. But I went from, flexing and up top to having to bend over and push my butt back. And from the back with figure, you're again more upper and not at all. So I didn't know how to do that properly. And it took a while to even feel comfortable because you are all out there. But you are definitely correct. There are some that are not as seasoned yet, and they do a lot more of a. It can become inappropriate very quickly. So
Right.
it's very important to get a posing coach or do your own thing once you know what you're doing. But initially, especially starting off, go to those posing clinics, get you an individual posing coach, have someone else look at you because you may think you're doing it okay and you really are not, because they will for sure there's no mercy there. They
Yeah.
won't be like, doesn't know. No, if it looks a certain way, this is all about presentation. They will dock you for it. And it's very unfortunate because sometimes the female looks wonderful, but it's
Right.
just that throws it off.
And I think a lot of it too has to do with, like, how long you've been in the sport, how much experience you have. I don't want to pick on bikini. I love bikini. I love all the divisions. It could happen in bikini. It could happen in men's physique. Seen it happen with everything. But like the posing trunks or the suits themselves, like some websites like to say NPC approved. NPC has no idea these companies even exist. And the problem is, the worst thing that could happen is if you spend hard-earned money on a suit, get to the show, look fantastic, and then you can't compete because your suit does not, because some suits like show way too much. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like much of a soft heart the judges might have, be empathetic and compassionate. They can't let you get on stage because it's just, and I've seen that. I saw one girl like some years ago. She had a suit. The judges said, "You cannot get on stage. Do you have another suit?" She's like, "Yeah, I've got it in a different color. Is it the same?" So they're like, "Yeah," and she couldn't compete. And that's like the worst thing, to go through a whole prep and then not be able to take the stage. So,
Oh yeah.
fortunately, the designer, they gave her a suit at no cost just because he felt bad. But you can't bank on that. I mean, there's not always a happy ending like that.
It's not. It definitely is not. They are requiring now local shows, and I believe, yeah, I think all of the national show. I could be mistaken because I haven't been all, but I know the ones that I went to, they make you wear your suit to check-ins, or at least your suit bottoms, because they're, at least for females, they're mainly concerned about the bottom. Or I'm sure it's the same for guys, but either way, and it's mainly looking at the back, but also the front, because some forget the front can be up too low and you can show a little bit too much.
Right.
So it should be covered, even though you're showing areas that they're looking at. They're not trying to look at the other areas that they're not supposed to be looking at. So they will tell you. So I highly recommend having a backup suit or two with you versus banking on one, because you may think it's okay. And like you said, if it's not a reparable or not quite a popular designer quite yet, they just may not know. It may not be on purpose, but they just didn't cut it correctly.
For sure. And I haven't been in the contest coverage world now like about 2 years, but you're right. I remember from check-ins, but I don't know if it was mandatory then, but I know a lot of competitors did do that, which is smart. And then also posing seminars. Some competitors wear their suits to those posing seminars. Here in Louisville, Jimmy and Monica Hornbeck, they put on some amazing free also posing seminars. And, they allow it. They don't say bring it, but they allow it. And it's a good idea to bring your suit just to make sure, because again, that would, there's so much on the line. There's so much on the line. You don't want to like be turned away from the stage.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Definitely. So what goals do you have? Like, do you have like any shows planned out, or is this like a bulking season, or what do you have planned for the rest of 2022 from mid-May to December?
Well, still mapping that out. So wanted to do kind of that warm up show because it's technically still qualified because I do open, but I'm focusing more on masters. So we want to get kind of requalified for the rest of this year and next because you just have to compete as a masters competitor. You just have to compete, or you can do the open and get the top two for a national. But once you have qualified for the year, you're qualified until next year. So it gives us a little wiggle room to figure out which one that we're going to do. So I'll know here pretty soon, but I will say that I'm not done this year. One of the perks from the Kentucky show is they do pay for your overall or your national admission into a national show. So I want to use that. But just mapping it out, making sure it makes sense. And my coach is pretty supportive of not just jumping on stage to jump on stage. Like the goal is to bring the best you can bring, like it always should be. And just making sure it makes sense. So I'll know pretty soon here, but I know for sure I'm not done.
That's awesome. I mean, again, kudos to your coach. I love the whole lifestyle approach. And I love what you just said also, because there's some coaches out there, they don't see competitors as friends or even people. They see them as meal tickets, and they'll have you do every possible show you can do because it's
Yeah.
more money. So it's great that you have a coach that really has your best interests at heart. That's actually really great, because I can't say that that's the case across the board. It's not.
Oh, it's true. The whole team is great, but I work directly with Renee, but just they support such a healthy lifestyle. There's things that you want to do that's just not healthy for you. They will not allow you to do it. If you're wanting to push to do, like if I wanted to do a show like tomorrow, if it didn't make sense for me, they would. I mean, of course, it's ultimately my choice, but they're just supportive either way, and they give kind of like the pros and cons. Like the having that way out with your coach also makes a difference, and not just kind of going with, well, they said it was best. I mean, you do have a say in it as well. It's your body, what you want to do, your longevity in it. They may know the expertise part of it, but you also have an element, because I think sometimes I see ones get kind of lost in well, my coach said this and I understand that, but it should be teamwork together, not just one-sided.
Absolutely. And you've said the word longevity about 4 or 5 times in this interview, which I think is great, because clearly this is something you want to do for the long haul. This isn't something like a one and done situation. So that's great. That's really important. And I commend you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope so. We'll see if I'm walking across the Olympia stage one of these days.
That, that's basically also one other thing. And I know you know this, and a lot of people that watch this will know this, but masters competitions are insanely competitive. And I don't know if you've ever been to Masters Nationals, but at Masters Nationals, yeah, there's some slaughters going on there. I mean, so like here in Kentucky, we have a Donald Williams Salib, pro women's bodybuilder, and I think she won like 3 or 4 pro cards. Not only did she win her first pro card, but then she went to like people that were like 5, 10, 15, 20 years younger and beat them. And she just kept one pro card and gave the others. It's like, and then you see people that, like Brian Hoydick is one of the coaches, TC Muscle, that used to sponsor a lot of Strength Athletics coverage. Like he had competitors that were like pushing 70, like literally, like they had to show me their driver's license and they looked like they were 40 years old. There's I don't know if you know Cindy Collier. Cindy Collier is like, I don't know, I don't want to put her age out there, but she looks like she's 40 and she's not 40 competing.
Yeah.
So it really, especially for the women, not to be sexist, but especially for the women, fitness reverses the aging process. And there's no Botox involved or plastic surgery, no weird lighting or airbrushing. It's just training. It just reverses everything.
I could not agree more. I had posted the other day, I was like, having a fit life is like the fountain of youth. And it's so, so, so true. That mature muscle comes, I mean, of course, the ones in their 20s, I'm 38, I'm very proud of my age. But the ones in the 20s have the metabolism on their side and they still can gain muscle, of course. But as you age, just like with anything, it's just things are just, the foundation is there. So you're just building on top of that. So I 100% agree. That's what pushes me in this as well. It's just a lifestyle that regardless if I stop today, I've kind of done gotten things that I wanted to get as far as the shows, exposure, all of that. But the reason I keep going is the fitness aspect of it that keeps me healthy, and it keeps my body the way that I like my body to look. And I'm 100% natural athlete, and not knocking the ones that are not, but that also is an element for me, because if I stop today, then I know I'm literally going to carry everything that I've built. Not that you wouldn't if you weren't, but I don't have that aspect to have to think about. So it's just, I think all in all, whichever route you decide to go, always keep your health at the forefront, and make sure that you keep abreast of that as you move along in this sport.
Definitely. Yeah, you're an amazing competitor and you're a really good person. I don't mean to be cheesy, but like, especially like you not once but twice made the clarification, no judgment if people, are enhanced or not. I think that's really important. I think that's really important because again, you know, being natural is awesome. But a lot of the folks that aren't natural, they sometimes feel like like they get snubbed by the folks, and you're not doing that. And you like not once,
Yeah,
but clarification is great. And there's something for everyone in the sport, especially now that there's wellness. I'm so happy there's wellness because you and Fit are probably miserable, just like a wellness competitor in bikini was miserable. This is your division.
absolutely. You just have to do what's best for you, and that's with this and with everything in life for sure. And this is it's part of it in regards to the exposure. Of you have to make that decision of whether or not you want to be natural or you don't want to be natural. And if you are natural, at some point you may come to a standstill saying, "Well, I thought I wanted to be, but now I want to see what my body can do."
Right.
Regardless, you have to do what makes the most sense for you, keeping again your health at the forefront, making sure you're doing things the way that's proper for you and your body and your family and your lifestyle. All of that goes into, it's not just about you. You have to keep everything in mind and take the step that God allows you to take, and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to one up you. I'm going to just say this and give you the final word on this. But, the only other thing I want to say too is that without a doubt, there's things that you can accomplish, enhance that may take you longer. I mean, maybe for certain folks genetically, they can't do so naturally. But I
Mhm.
I challenge, and again, I'm a fat guy that does media. I'm not. I just want to be clear, but the human body is so impressive and so resilient, and there's just so much unknown that you know I think that because you often hear people say, "Well, I reached my natural limit, then I went." I don't think most people that say that actually have reached their natural limit. I think that like again, I'm not saying that the body can do the same thing you can do with gear or not, but I just think that all I'm saying is that you can do a lot naturally. Leave it at that. You can do a lot naturally, but I'll give you the final word on that.
I mean, I definitely agree. You definitely can. I think the main element between that decision is what are you willing to wait for?
Hmm.
Because supplements, even regular supplements, your vitamins and what have you, your body can do certain things with and without it. But are you willing to wait a little longer for it possibly to respond, to look a certain way? Do you want to be pro tomorrow? Are you willing to do it longevity? All of those things factor in. Not that something's going to make it tomorrow, but it's a supplement. It's to enhance and to increase and to somewhat speed up certain aspects. There's many out there. I'm oblivious to that. But at the end of the day, the point of taking it is to help get somewhere a little bit quicker. That is one aspect. And then the other aspect is maybe your body is just, that's a weaker area for you and you just need some help because you have an injury or something and you just can't lift that heavy or whatever. So there's many different reasons, and that's why it's hard for ones to send out hard judgments as to why people did what they did. And we're all adults here, so I really, at the end of the day, it's your body. But yeah, I think it just comes down to making that decision collectively, that what makes the most sense for you. You do not have to disclose unless you're doing a 100% natural show. If you don't have to disclose what you are and are not doing. The judges are just looking at what you look like the day that they see you in front of them on stage. So make that decision from yourself. But I will advise, don't make the decision based upon what you're seeing from others, or if you feel pressured to do it. Make that decision because you truly want to see your body a certain way, or you don't want to do it, but make it because of your own personal choice.
No, absolutely. It has to be your personal choice. And again, like, and I said I'd give you the last word. So that, yeah, and just to echo what you said too, please, as a favor to me, to society, if you are juicing, please don't do a natural show. That's just wrong on so many levels. But it happens. It happens. That's just
It
so wrong.
does happen. I know, I've seen it, and it is what it is. It's not for me to
Right.
really tell, but
That,
I think it's nice to allow the ones that are 100% to do those shows. That's the goal. That's the point of them.
right.
But because you can sup and swing off and be natural for a second and swing back on, like we all are aware, we know. But out of the kindness of your heart, it'd be nice if you just left those for the natural athletes.
All right. Well, listen, I have had such a good time with your interview, with this interview, this
Oh,
talking. I'm hoping we can do it again, maybe later in the year, if you're cool with it, and maybe do
yeah.
it. Yeah, that'd be great. But I'm just so thankful. And any final words? Any parting words?
Oh, well, first, thank you for the opportunity. It's always fun to chat about this world that only when we're in it, it's fun to converse with others that are in it and, like it because it is just that much more enthusiastic. But my final would just be to everyone that's watching, if you have not competed yet and you want to, go for it because it is worth it. It is expensive and it is time and it's this, that, and other, but nothing that's worth you doing things are not. So it's more of a choice of you just wanting to do it, and I will guarantee that you will not be disappointed. You're going to get addicted, though. I will say that. So it's not just one show. Do another one.
Yeah, got warned. Well, thank you so very much for taking the time and for being so patient and giving such a great interview, such candid answers, and just being you. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
definitely. And please tag Strength Addicts and Wellness Competitors on everything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Definitely. Thank you. For Latoya Adams, it's Christian Duke.com. Thanks.
Bye.